Welcome to Model Horse Tack School. My name is Carrie, and today we're going to start the double bridle. You've got a curb and a snaffle. And then, so the gaited horses have a different type of brow band and nose band. I did a video on how to create that patent leather look, so I'm not going to go over that here. Tennessee Walker horse would not use this. All right, they have their own bit. This would also be used for dressage, and we'll be doing dressage in another segment. And I won't do the double bridle again. I will just go over how to do the different brow band and nose band, because that's really the difference. Just briefly talk about the bit that we're using. This is the Rio Rondo version. It's an all-in-one, okay? There are other miniature tack hardware makers, and they've got a two-piece where the snaffle is separate from the shank. And some people prefer that. I think it's easier to tack up. I think this is easier to tack up and keep from getting all tangled. Okay, let's talk about leather lace that we're going to use. I'm going to use an 1/8 inch because I want to split it. And you can use this. What I do now is, instead of doing one of these and then two of those, I go ahead and I just do 2 lengths. What we want to do after we cut our lengths is we need to skive them, and then we need to split them. So however you want to do the split is up to you, whether you want to use scissors or you want to use a blade. Would go ahead and go to that line. Go ahead and finger press it. Get my blade right there. And very carefully there you go. So now, because what I care about is you don't need 4 different 16th inch there, so that's why I'm doing this. And then I only have 2 of these, and they lay on top of each other really nicely. All right, so I'm going to finger press like that. And then get in the middle. And then just very, very slowly. I like to be able to feel the wood. And it's easier to do this on a piece that's been skived than a piece that hasn't been. All right, there we go. Okay, this is our shaped nose band. It works. It's not great, but it works. I'm going to go ahead and I already put a buckle on one side, so I'll go ahead and buckle the other. See, right like that. And then I can double check that that's the right fit. Yep, that looks good. Okay, so this is our cheek piece. Now, it's 1/16 inch, and mine's just a little bit shorter than what's in the book. Trying to make sure that the buckles are shuffled so they're not all land in the same place, but they land different places. Now, since this is just a loop, I'm just trying to make sure I don't accidentally glue my nose band right on there. Now, I find having it floating like this makes it easier to take it on and off, which is why I prefer to have the float. And then this side gets our buckle. like that. I don't know if you can hear my husband preparing lunch. He's so nice. He's a great cook. I'm spoiled rotten. Here's a breakdown from the internet. Might help ease the confusion because there's a lot of parts. So we're not going to worry about the reins. First thing we need is our cabesson noseband. Now, for fitting purposes, I usually like to have a buckle on both sides, but usually there's a buckle on the left side, not the right. Well, when you're facing the horse, it would be your left. If you turn around facing the same way as the horse, then it would be on the right. Use the long one, so I'm going to do the front one. I'm going to go ahead and pull that. I'm using the front one. And I'll go ahead and slip that in. And I want to make sure that my split is right where the brow band's going to hide it. And that means, this is why I always put an extra buckle instead of doing this. This is a pain. But this is the correct way to do it. And then we're going to finger press. Okay, so up here, I want it to move. I want it to move because it helps me take it off the animal without unbuckling every single buckle. This thing has so many buckles, and I don't want to have to undo all of them. Okay, so now we need that for keepers. And then over here, definitely need keepers over here. And you can do them now or you can do them later. I find it's easier to do them as I go because there's just so many straps. So what I'll do is a fixed keeper right there, and then a sliding keeper down here to keep that in place. So we've created this piece here now, right? That's done, but now we have these. These are going to be the slip head. All right, now it shows only one buckle. Because it's so hard to adjust this on the model, with everything that goes into that bit, I'm going to do 2 of these straps instead of 1. Okay. Okay, so there we go. We got my 2 straps on my snaffle. And then I'm going to go ahead and buckle. Now make sure that you have mirrored images, a right and a left. And then make sure you have the bit going forward when you buckle it. Okay, and at this point, I know this piece here is going to be too long. So I could put this to the model and go ahead and measure it and do some trimming. This side is absolutely too long. Like I said, I just use the excess to do my keepers. So I'll go ahead and take this off right now. And I'll make a fixed keeper up here and a sliding keeper down here on both of these. Okay, so we've done this set, we've done this set. So now we're going to do this with this other piece here. And that means I need 2 of these straps. And I need them attached to the curb right up here. Okay, so one of the things I take into account is the buckle buildup. Okay, I don't want all the buckles to land in the same place. So, you know, where do I have it now? I need, You can see those two. So I need this one to either be way up high or way down low, because otherwise I have buckle buildup, and that is not attractive on the model. So I would, especially because I'm using more buckles than normal, so I would go about that length pieces to do that. So I would take off a little bit, and same thing for the other side. Now I don't have as many buckles, but I am going to have a third one when I put this, because this is going to be my throat latch, so I will have a third buckle. So I'll try and make it about the same distance as this one here. It's a much shorter one. Writing a book is a lot of work. So I appreciate when people buy my books, because that is a way to support me, especially coming up on my old age. I don't feel old. I still feel like I'm in my teens. It's funny how it works that way. Alright, so now we can take this one, make sure your long side, and the thinnest one, if you have two different sides, thinnest is usually, it should be in the back. Because the throat latch strap tends to be a little bit smaller. Alright. We're going to have extra. Alright, so that would lay on top of that, and we want to make sure that those two, the splits, are at about the same place. And then over here on this side, make sure it's the front one. Alright, now we're going to try and work on some accurate fitting. We need to get the brow band fitted. Now I could just, you know, I know where it should be, right? It should be straight from here behind the eye down to the bit, right? So it shouldn't be over here. That would go over the eye and it'd be funky looking. And then it's got to be around the pole. So I know that is where the bend should be. Now look at all the extra I have on this side. So I already know I'm going to have to probably, because she's got a very narrow face. If I was doing this for this model, she's got a very wide face. See, so this would actually fit her very well. And then I could just fold it under right there, and that would be perfect on her on both sides. Tail's in the way, so that would be perfect on both sides. Maybe just a little bit of an adjustment. No, that would be perfect. So wide-faced horses are going to be different from narrow. She's got a very, very narrow face. So that means I'm going to have to push this in like that on both sides. If you can see, I've done my finger press where I believe the lace needs to go. It's going to be behind the ear, right in the path there, and then if I do that, I should have a clear path all the way down to lips, nothing in the eyes. Okay? When you glue it, you need to get it as tight in there as possible so that your crown pieces are not moving around. And sometimes that means the glue is going to get really close. So you can move these a few times to bust that. And then, and because this is under pressure, the brow band's actually pushing back, I clamped it. But I'll go ahead and let that set up. And then I don't need that extra, so we'll go ahead and get rid of that. And once that's set up, then we'll move on. Okay, for the throat latch, I know it looks like a mess, but at least I've got my brow band where I want it, so that I can now take my throat latch piece on the outside and then figure out where I want the buckle. Okay, I want it down here a little bit. So I'm going to say right about there is where I want my throat latch buckle. Okay, now is when we get to put this tangled mess on the model and see how close we are to a good fit. It should be maybe a little big. What worries me the most is my, because I only put one buckle on that, like that picture said. I'm worried. All right, let's put a little wax there. And so the curb, go right there. And number one thing is I need to tighten that. That's the first thing I would check, is to make sure my noseband fits correctly on both sides. I don't like where that is falling. See that? So we'll need to loosen this. I swear these bridles driving me nuts. I've never done this model either for fitting or for tack, so that could be a problem too. All right, now that's better, because now my split is hiding where it should be. So now we can pull a little bit on that side, and I am somewhat annoyed with that. I'm pushing it up, so that's a little better. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and snip this here. So that's for keepers. Let's see the other side now. I went ahead and did the final trim to all of my points, and I finished putting on my keepers. Okay, so this picture I got specifically to look at how this works. Okay, so here's my bit. Let's do the outside one so it matches. So there we go. I need to do an S hook, that's what that is, to the chain, and it's on the outside, so it's going to go over this post here. Technically that post doesn't exist on a real horse, right? But I have to go S hook over the snaffle here and then around. Okay. Time to take an S hook. I'm going to attach it to the chain because I don't know how many links I need of this. So there we go. I'm going to go ahead and close that up. Okay. And we're going to go to the bit. And we're going to, okay. Now at this point, don't let anything get tangled because you don't really want to deal with it tangled. Alrighty, come on. Now I'm trying to hold it like this so I don't get any twists in the chain. And there we go. And now I'll close that up. If it will listen. And then I would open this one up. And remember, it comes outside the snaffle and then onto. Come on. You can do it. Let's do it up near the top first. There we go. Okay. Now, next thing is lip strap. I tried to find a picture of a lip strap on a double bridle, and I couldn't find one. But I know that if you don't have the lip strap in a live show or even a photo show and the judge notices, you'll get points deducted. All right, so then we'll just put it on like this because it's too big to fit in that. I know. I just need to go find some twos. I think I have to get them from Rio Rondo. So I'm going to take this piece of brown, and you can use scissors, you can use razor, whatever, but it has to be really thin, thinner than a 1/16. And so I don't even know if these scissors are strong enough. And it just needs to be about as long as that chain was. So this is already skived, so I know that it's flat enough. I just know I need it thin. And so I'm just gonna try and not rush it too much. All right, I don't think I need more than that. That's probably more than I need. So I'll just go ahead and cut that off. Okay, and now the lip strap. And just to make my life easier, I'm going to do it from this side first. Every time I put it down. Okay, I know that's correct, right? So lip strap goes here. And it's so tiny. It's so tiny. Okay, and then, and then it goes through the ring, and then it goes through this hole on the other side. And it's supposed to be snug. That should be about right. I can't get a good explanation for why the lip strap's important. It has something to do with, obviously, their lower lip. I can't tell you why. I can't tell you why this is important. I have researched that and looked, and I obviously something about the lower lip. We're getting there. If you notice, so it's just a small detail, but that's what those little hoops are for. And I need to make sure So the bit usually looks like that when it's engaged. Okay, so this says to cut 4 6.5 or 7.5 inch long, 18th or 16th inch wide. So I'd go for the 16th inch. You could probably do 3 30-seconds, but the 16th inch is really where it's at. They're very tiny reins. And what I did is, instead of cutting 4 at 6.5, because I don't want the extra inch or so of drape, I went ahead and cut 2 of 13 inches. So these are my 2 at 13 inches. And what I'm going to do is, on one end, I'm going to do a buckle. This is so I get them as symmetrical as possible, because you really want the buckle to be at the very center back. So I'm going to buckle, and then yeah, I did skive this, but it still has a lot of curlicue in it. So sometimes on that leather lace, you just kind of got to pull on it and work with it. So now I'm going to go ahead and come on. And I don't want to do too much, you know, I want, because that's what it is. Usually it's 2 reins, right? It's not one continuous rein, at least for this particular bridle type. It's not. I know there are some. So I almost got that, didn't I? Close enough. Okay, so now that I have it buckled, I'm going to go ahead and hold on to the buckle, and I'm going to pull, and I'll go ahead and finger press right there, and that's where I'll cut it. And that way my rein is exactly, you know, center back. Okay, and I'm not sure I have to tell you this, but you need to have 1 rein snaffle to snaffle and 1 rein curb to curb. I should confess that I absolutely hate making double bridles. They're so complicated. So, yeah.